childhood nerd. What in the heck just happened?
She sees my face and she loses her mind.
We're not starting over. Welcome to another
Why would
episode of
we?
That Early Childhood Nerd. I'm Heather Bernt-Santy, and she is Samantha Balch. Hi, Samantha.
Hello.
Sam,
Ohayo
some might
gozaimasu,
say.
as we say
Yeah.
at 9 a.m. in the morning in Japan,
Oh, man. I am not in Japan. I'm in Indiana,
which
and
is also great.
it's pretty great. I mean, it's okay. There's definitely some issues,
Well,
but overall, it's okay.
but we don't have time to get into that, quite frankly.
No, we don't. Oh my gosh. Well, it's probably been
It's
a
been
lot
a
of
while
months,
since we've hung
if not
out.
a whole year
I know.
since
I've
we
missed
talked.
you.
I've missed you too. This is so fun.
I love hanging out with you. Your book at the time of the release of this recording will be out,
That's true. Yes.
which is very exciting.
That
So
is
I hope
exciting.
everyone listening is holding it in their hands as they listen to this podcast.
Oh man, me too. That'd be great. Um, it's so weird. Like I've been really just shamelessly self-promoting. We're recording this in September. Um, and it's still so November 21st is the official release date for the book. And
For all of your Thanksgiving break reading, when you need
Exactly.
to get away from your family
take the
because
book
they have ceased
and leave the
being
room.
normal. Yeah, I've got some PLC
Pressing.
hours I have to get. I'm so sorry. I really have to take this, and it's just the book that you're holding up to your ear. Yeah.
That's perfect. Oh my gosh. Anyway, it feels far away, and I'm sure it'll be here before we know it. So, we're going to talk actually about an idea that I have been playing around with a lot since it came up while writing that book, the schema book, and it's dropped in here and there in the book. But I also wrote an article for the winter issue of Exchange called "If They Play, Am I a Real Teacher?" And I'm sure Sam has brilliant thoughts about this too. So
I just think everybody listening should just kind of marinate on that sentence.
Yes.
Let that hang out for a second. Evaluate what your initial response is.
Exactly. Whew. Well, we're going to keep going. They can pause if they want to do that.
Yeah, you can pause if you need more times.
So I'm going to read just the beginning of this. And before I hit record, I was making fun of how long this first sentence is. So I hope I can even read it without
I can't wait.
an allergy attack or something. Okay, so this is what Heather Bernt-Santy wrote in this article.
Wow, I love her.
For the last several years, I've been busy challenging the dominant early childhood education discourse that says play is not enough in the early years, and that the only way to those magical returns on investment, we're told, come from quality early childhood education is by sitting children down and performing teaching rituals in front of them. I talk to college students, preschool and kindergarten teachers, and childcare providers who wonder, if I just let them play, how am I a teacher? They worry about the cultural pressures that demand early academics and fear they will never receive professional respect, the professional respect they deserve if children are just playing, quote unquote. Yes, people, that was 2 sentences.
It didn't feel like 2 sentences though. It felt like 6 sentences. That was wonderful. I was waiting for the part where I was like, wow, she's still going.
While reading, I paused in ways that I did not while writing.
To imply a comma,
right, yes.
Or perhaps a semicolon,
or something like that. M dash is really more my style.
Love an M dash. ChatGPT has ruined them for those of us
really
that were already sluts for M dashes.
Yes,
it's like no, I just write like this. Right. I can't stop the sentence. It needs to connect. Anyway, I think that is a banger of an opener because you've touched on so many different things all at once, right? Like how are teachers, pre-service teachers, like college students feeling going into this? What pressures are being pushed down upon them? The idea that in order to be respected professionally, there are certain rituals and routines that you have to take part of, or at least perform that you are taking part of. I know, like, I'm just thinking back to schools I've been a part of or friends at schools that are, no, we have circle time. We do circle time. And it's just something they have on their schedule to basically appease parents.
Yeah.
That this is here. Yeah. And circle time would be the 5 minutes after snack where they explain, hey, these are some of the materials we got out today. Here's where certain teachers are going to be if you need us. Come hang out. As
Right.
opposed to, we sit down and we do the weather, we do the calendar. I hope you can hear my air quotes. I realize this is an audio medium.
They can see them
So
on Friday when it goes on YouTube.
yeah, that'll be fine. So there's the again, like the societal pressure, I think, is such a big point of that, right? And it's what comes to mind for me is that it's this societal pressure that when you ask someone, okay, can you back that up with science, an article, anything other than vibes, the answer is no. The answer is like no one has ever given me any sort of peer-reviewed anything that says actually circle time is really good. I do think, and I'm looking back at like some notes. In fact, this one is notes from like a time when we recorded when I was living in Hawaii, which was like 4 years ago.
Wow.
Like when I was looking back at some notes, something that stuck out to me was I'd written down, this was from a teacher that I met when I was in New Zealand for a little bit. They said one of their philosophies was nothing that they do will ruin the children's academic skills. No amount of playing will ruin their academic skills. No amount of imaginative, fantastical, playful thinking will ruin the academics. Because those aren't even there yet. Right? In the formal assessmentized way.
The way we imagine them to be, or
the way we're always yapping about them. That was from Little Doves at the Kristen School in New Zealand. If anyone wants to look them up, they have a really cool program.
Nice.
Highly recommend. Just really, really great teachers, really cool stuff over there. I also wrote first. I love
that you have notes from recordings from 4 years ago.
Notes from recordings from 4 years ago, but also this was for, I believe, a job interview. Like I wrote down the time, and then under that, I just wrote down, I'm getting paid to think. which is something I talk about a lot, actually. And I feel like connects to what this article, probably, I have not read it, is talking about. Like, if the children are playing, I'm not sitting there on the phone.
Exactly.
I'm not doing nothing. I am getting paid to watch them and think about them and think with them, which is what I spend my time doing. I'm then on the floor as they're building this marble run, and I'm legitimately curious about this marble run and asking them questions about this marble run. And when the marble flies off the end, it's like, oh, geez, why do you think that happened?
Yeah.
And then I'm listening for their ideas.
Yeah. I was once told by a boss to leave my brain at home. Because she was tired of arguing with me. And two, I mean, I think that's it, right? We have this idea that teaching children should look like the way children play school, almost, right? I'm in charge, you're sitting, I'll arrange you, and that's part of the fun of playing school. And I'll stand in front of you, and I'll have, I'll exercise power, whether we're conscious of that or not. A lot of it comes from this belief that to be teaching, I must be more active than the children that I'm teaching.
And to be teaching, I must be perceived as in the position of all powerful.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think I've been thinking about circle time and calendar time a lot lately too. And I think I know we can say it's with a good intention usually. I mean, I do think there are people who are working with young children because they have felt powerless, and now this is a way to be powerful.
Definitely that.
Asterisk, see Mike Huber's new book.
Everyone, Mike Huber's new book.
Excuse me, but the intentions are good, right? We think that children need all this. They need to
Mm-hmm.
understand the passage of time, or they need to understand numeracy, or they need to understand how books work and hear books being read to them, and they need to learn to sit still and be part of a quiet group.
I think in your list, people would put those two first. They need to learn to be
Yes,
part of a
yeah,
group. They need to learn to sit still,
right. When we're
which,
talking about readiness, that's usually
yeah,
the biggest
I
thing.
always I always love to ask people about the kids that they say can't sit still.
Mm-hmm.
Watch them while they play with their
Mm-hmm.
friends, or the kids that like can't be quiet in a
Yeah,
group. Watch them when they're with a group of friends or one other friend.
yeah.
Because they'll shut up if someone else is talking. If someone else
Mm-hmm.
is sharing an idea, they'll be still. They'll be at the water table together.
Yeah,
They won't leave that space.
yeah.
But they're demonstrating those skills, maybe not necessarily towards you in a meeting, but also when was the last time you were at a meeting and did not daydream and did not do the thing where you're like, you have your phone on your knee and you're like kind of
Yeah,
staring at your
right.
crotch, but you're also looking up to be like, no, I'm not on Instagram. I am not scrolling.
At last
I'm
count,
locked in.
never.
Yeah. I'm locked in to this
Yeah,
meeting, of course. Yeah,
yeah,
let's continue talking about the playground.
yeah,
Totally. No, people
yeah.
just don't pay attention at meetings, man.
Yeah, and I mean that's the disconnect, right? We forget that they're fully human, just like we're fully human, and we don't always
Tiny
connect
little people.
our experiences to what they might be experiencing, and that's really. But if we are, I mean, I think this question of am I a real teacher?
Hmm.
Um, I mean, what does real mean? Does that mean
I
am I
was just
really
gonna
helping
ask
children
that.
learn, or does that mean do other people recognize what I'm doing as teaching?
Right. And also what is teaching to you?
Hmm.
Is teaching are you caught up in that like that banking theory, right?
Hmm.
Of I deposit the coins of knowledge into
Yes.
their vaults
Yes.
and then they go out to become producers and consumers.
Yeah.
Or is it based in relationship? Like I know for me, if you're asking me to define the role of myself as a teacher or the teachers that I work with and what I want to see in them, it's a person who is very invested in relationships with to about involving children.
Hmm.
And that means relationships with people, relationships with environment, relationships with materials. That's what's I think most interesting about teaching.
Hmm.
And if you sit and you're sorting through the titans of our field from forever, right? If you're looking at Montessori and Froebel and
Yeah.
Piaget, even though I don't really like that man a lot.
Yeah.
Like if you're all of those things that they do and talk about can almost always be distilled to there was an adult making an active effort to have a relationship with a child.
Mm.
And that they're not talking about when they should have been able to identify which shapes
Right.
and when they could do what sight words. And before they turn 6, they need to be able to do X, Y, and Z, or even sitting still. That's not something they talk about. I think
Right.
that I wonder if there's sort of a lost in translation issue for a lot of these things when we have people who were very active in sharing their practice. And their practice often involved communal time with adults and children. And people saw that and were like, yes, we shall replicate this. Let us sit these children down.
Hmm.
But they did not see, did not know about, did not choose to learn about the context that came way before that of teachers and adults talking with children, playing with children, watching them play, providing them materials based on things they'd heard them say,
Hmm.
asking them questions about things that they'd heard them say or watched them do or seen them get, that then led to the children, of course, wanting to be in a group with the teacher and their peers for 20,
Yeah.
30, 40 minutes talking.
Yeah.
Like when you've got buy-in from the kids because they're so engaged in what's happening, of
Hmm.
course you're going to see them sitting together in a group
Yeah.
for a long time. And if your only goal is to replicate that without all of the building blocks, or I like to think of it as like a spiral staircase, right? Like it's all building on each other.
Hmm.
And if you're skipping the step, the whole thing's going to fall down.
Hmm.
And then I think, especially in the American context, what we end up with is, oh, well, you need to be more stern, you need to be more strict,
Hmm.
you need to be harsher on them. And you're attempting to build the part of the staircase that is relationship through rules and
Yeah.
procedures and just all sorts of
But
other stopgap measures.
yeah, and when I talk to people about, along that path of thinking, the concern is always, well, they're going to have to be able to sit and do things as a whole group most of the time when they get to kindergarten. And it's going to be hard for them. And I don't want it to be hard for them in kindergarten. So we're going to start doing it really early. So instead of saying, I'm going to let them have these full years of
Mm-hmm.
childhood, and then they'll go to kindergarten. We're saying, and maybe kindergarten will be hard. We're saying, I want them to have years and years of
Right.
of
You
struggle
know
and
what? I
scolding,
don't want them
and
to have it at all.
right.
And
I
I
mean, we end up extending the time, if that time is in fact real, that children are
mhm.
struggling because they don't sit still and they don't fit
Right.
that
And I
kindergarten
think
mold.
that's
We stretch it out to years instead of just being like maybe a couple of weeks at the beginning of kindergarten until they get
right.
into the routine.
And I think that's also an important piece of the idea of feeling like, am I a real teacher?
Mm-hmm.
Especially for that year right before kindergarten. But I think it applies to, I think, every
Mm-hmm.
age in the early childhood range. There's a lot of pressure, especially in certain places, on did they come from a good preschool?
Yes.
Did
Yeah.
they come from a good daycare?
Right.
Did they learn how to be in school? So the internalization for a teacher, especially a new teacher, especially a pre-service teacher, is how do I make sure that that kindergarten teacher, who I'm
Mm-hmm.
probably literally never going to talk to, has a good impression of me
Yeah.
and a good impression of my school. Or I know directors that think that way too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that say like, oh, well, all of our kids that go to kindergarten, the kindergarten teachers always say like they know a kid from our school because
Uh-huh.
we're such a good school.
So it's interesting that you bring that up because I just remembered a couple of days ago a conversation that I had years ago, um, with a woman who was a kindergarten teacher for a while, and then she was working. I think we were working together at a child care resource and referral agency, if I'm remembering right. Um, and at the time, that was part of a larger agency that ran several child care centers and had a sliding fee scale. So families who couldn't afford, the
Mm-hmm.
full rate, their rate was subsidized based on income level and that kind of thing. And I remember her saying, you talk to any kindergarten teacher in the county and they know which children came from these centers because they struggle more, um, because it's not academic enough and we're not training them enough in these centers. And I thought, okay, that's super simplified, right? That's an
Right.
assumption. That's not based on anything but
Mm-hmm.
what's one thing I can think about these children. But what's another thing? It's likely they're coming from lower income families where maybe they've
Yeah.
had a more stressful few years before kindergarten. Um, and maybe families were focused on surviving, and
Right.
so not to say that every low income family has
Oh, of
struggles
course
in
not.
kindergarten, but we know that there are other reasons that might contribute to that, and we never think, well, maybe the kindergarten system is the one that we need
I was
to
also going to
look
bring that
at.
up
And it's the
because that's
system. I've got
also
to say,
been
it's not the individual teachers I'm ragging on, it's
right. Of
the school
course
they're in.
not. But that was a line that I would use a lot in the pre-K classroom. You know, is oh well, they're going to have to do this in kindergarten. Like, great, do it in kindergarten.
Yeah.
That's not where I work. That's not the money I'm making.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm not here to do that with them.
yeah.
I'm here to do other things with
So,
them.
so I think, and this is something that comes up in the article, because I've also been thinking a lot about. I wish I had it in front of me. The NACI Code of Ethical Conduct
Hmm.
document, and I don't rely a whole lot on NACI documents, but
Right.
I do tend to look at that one a lot. And there's that one overarching, above all, we'll do no harm. We won't participate
Hmm.
in practices that are disrespectful. Um, what else? Emotionally damaging, physically harmful, exploitative. Um, oh, there's another one. There's a whole
There's
list.
another one,
But I
but
think
yeah.
I think we do all of those things
Oh
in the
yeah.
name of being seen as a real teacher. We
Oh yeah.
definitely, I mean, I keep going back to exploitative, and if that's harsh, it's harsh. But if we are saying it's so important to me to be seen as a real teacher, that I'm going to squash the needs and the urges and the things these children are telling me
Hmm.
they need so that I can be in control of it, that's exploiting children for my purposes, right?
Yep.
If I'm
For
going to
your own
say,
emotional benefit.
yeah, if I'm going to say I am going to use this boxed curriculum, even though the children are showing me that it's not interesting to them, that's the curriculum company exploiting children.
Hmm.
If I'm going to say I want them to sit and be still for all these years so that they can sit and be still at some point in the future, that's physically harmful. They're not getting
Yeah.
the physical development that they need. And I think we have to be able to look at that with, you know, with our very best pair of
Yeah.
glasses on.
You really have to be able to critically evaluate that and think about who you are as a person and what it is that you want to come out of
Mm-hmm.
this classroom. And
Yeah.
I mean, I find I don't really love when meetings start and people are like, what's your why? I'm like, okay, a lot of times my why is I need to exchange money for calories and shelter. Sometimes that's the
That's a
why. There's
why,
also
yes.
there's
Uh-huh.
other whys, but
Yeah.
like that's kind of a big one.
Yeah.
Uh, but if you're not, oh, I wrote in this note, reclaiming, reforming, and realizing.
Ooh,
And I think
nice.
that applies to this a lot. Like if you're not reclaiming, reforming, and realizing the values that are important to you, the
Uh-huh.
values that are important to you within the classroom context, within the societal context, right?
Yeah.
Because schools create society.
Right.
You have people right now,
Mm-hmm.
and they, are generally not allowed to participate in society as fully as adults, but they
Mm-hmm.
will eventually be adults and they should be allowed to participate in society as fully as they can safely at this moment.
Mm-hmm.
So, how are you looking at what you're doing and seeing how that fits into what you believe society can be, children should be,
Yeah.
teaching should be?
Yeah.
And if something doesn't fit, then what are you doing about it?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's often hard to sit with. That's often hard. I found like it's hard to ask people that.
Yeah.
They seem to get very defensive.
Yeah.
Um, and I think so. Part of it is like I think people need to come to those ideas on their own
Mm-hmm.
about okay, what is a real teacher? What is a real classroom?
Yeah.
What does this mean to me? Knowing what we know about children's development, because
Mm-hmm.
it's not an idea that play is really good. It's there's so much research. There's
Mm-hmm.
so much research, people.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
these
and sometimes when I'm having the conversation, they're not saying to me, am I a real teacher, or how am I a real teacher if they're just playing? Sometimes it's framed more like, what am I supposed to do with all my knowledge then? If
mm,
not just to pour it into the sponge heads of the kids
yeah.
that are with me every
No,
day.
I think that's a good point because
Mm-hmm.
then I think what we're seeing again is that we've internalized the banking model,
Yeah,
right? Like,
yeah.
okay, well, I've got all these coins. Where are they supposed to go?
Give
I
me a
was
bank.
given
Give me a
these
bank.
coins. Yes, I need to put them somewhere. When in reality, you what almost always what we need to be doing with children is just hanging out with them and
Sure.
getting to know them and having a relationship with
Yeah,
them.
and it goes back to you talking about being paid to think, because this is what I, this is a lot of what the article is, and sharing specific examples of three times, three scenarios,
Hmm.
and three ways that I was a real teacher in those scenarios. um we are, if we are paying close enough attention and we are keeping ourselves actively involved and not shutting down when they are quote unquote just playing, and taking that time to chat with each other or look at my phone or
Hmm.
cut out the bulletin board stuff or whatever we're doing. If we're really attuned to what's happening, then we are making professional decisions and notes and questions to follow all
Hmm.
day long. And we're using that expertise that we have to decide what they need from us and don't need from us in the moment,
Yep.
and what might they be thinking. And I just want to think more about that, or what could I put in here tomorrow and see if they continue along this path of thinking that I see them starting today,
Yeah.
or are their bodies getting enough movement, and
Hmm.
what do I mean, it's all day long we're making professional observations and notes to ourselves and decisions, and that's supporting learning, which I think is different than
Exactly.
teaching sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
I think so. And I think supporting learning often doesn't it's not as marketable,
Yeah.
right?
Or
As the beautiful
measurable.
bulletin board. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Yeah.
measurable, or the children quiet at circle time.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be hard especially like if you're a teacher who is realizing this is where you need to
Yeah.
be. This is what you need to be doing. And then you're doing that and none of your colleagues are,
Yeah.
and your director is coming in and you're like, well, what is
Why are you
this?
just
And
sitting?
right, and all you have, and you have a notebook full of pages and pages and pages of
Yeah.
notes that make sense to you but
Yeah.
might not make, like, you're gonna have to now explain to another person
One
some,
time
like,
when I was a toddler teacher in a center, um, uh, I would take notes. I would sit and watch and note what I saw and note my questions, and um, you know, maybe make a note of something I wanted to look up or learn more about based on what I was seeing. Or anyway, I was taking notes while I was watching the children, on the floor with them. So it
mm-hmm,
was just funny.
I know.
And um, apparently colleagues were very suspicious of that. And one day the director came to me and they essentially thought I was like writing down all the things I was going to turn them in for. And it's like, well, if that's where your mind went first, that gives you something to think about.
Yes, that does give you a lot to think about.
I'm
That
just
reminds
making
me of,
notes of things for me to think about.
you're right, that, oh my gosh, I did the exact same thing when I was in a kindergarten classroom. And so I had my little notebook, and I think I've told this story before.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm writing lots of notes about the children interacting with each other.
Yeah.
Things like, okay, like part of it was like the schedule, right, for
Mm-hmm.
me to remember because it was a kindergarten and there was a lot going on. Um, but also who's interacting with who, what am I seeing? Like questions I have about what the children are doing. How can we do this differently? How can we do this
Mm-hmm.
differently? Um, and the other teacher in the classroom told me you have to stop taking notes in front of the children.
Uh-huh.
And I asked why, and she said it's unprofessional.
Um,
And I was like,
are you
okay,
sure?
interesting. So I stopped taking notes in front of her
Uh-huh.
so that she couldn't see it.
Yes.
But then the counterpart to this story is that at Christmas that year, a parent came up to me and said, so my daughter, one of the students, picked this out for you, but we attached a receipt because she was telling us something and we didn't like, we don't know if it's true. I'm like, oh, okay. And they open it up and it's a notebook. It's like a notebook from Target. And her mom wrote a note that said, Kelsey says you really like to take notes. So she wanted to get you a notebook.
I love it.
And I was like, and I still have that notebook. I was like, yeah, you're right. I do.
Yeah,
And
I
I
do
would,
like to take
I,
notes.
and I think with kids that age too, now I'm just on a little note taking ramble. Tell
It's
them, like,
functional
when they're like,
literacy.
yeah, what are you doing? I'm taking notes.
Yeah.
Why are you taking notes? I think what you're saying is interesting.
Absolutely.
Or I want to remember this conversation, or I had a question and I want to write it down so I can look it up later. And then they love to try and read it. And if you don't want them to read your notes, write in cursive because then they
Yes.
don't know what's going on.
Yes.
I've had
But
a
how
number of children then.
wonderful to see an important adult writing something down that you did because they thought it was so important.
They love that.
Yeah.
And then you'll have kids come over to you and say, "Can you write this down?" I'm like, "Of course I can. Of course I can write
Yeah.
this down." And then that's when you get little clipboards for the classroom. You'd be like,
Yes.
"Hey, if I ever can't write something down, you write it down. Don't worry.
Mm-hmm.
And if you need help writing down, just come find me.
Mm-hmm.
I'll totally help you." Oh man, they love that.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things to do in any room.
Yeah.
Like just be writing all the time.
Yeah. So, I mean, that both those stories just are reminders of, what you touched on at the beginning, and the pressure that people feel that kind of leads
Mhm.
them into these, um, playing school kind of practices, as
Yeah.
opposed to engaging in practices that are developmentally responsive and informed. Um, I mean, the colleagues definitely, but the families too, right? We want to,
Yeah.
they're paying money for a product, whether we want to
Hmm.
say it that bluntly or
They
not.
want a receipt.
They
They
want
would
a
like a
receipt,
receipt
and
that this was worth it.
their expectations are set up based on the messages they've been getting, the
Yeah.
marketing and the mommy groups and the parent
Oh my God, the social media.
competition. Yeah, that every moment has to be meaningful, and every moment has to be educational, and every moment has to be
Right.
enriching.
And also, if your kid isn't reading by the time they're out of the womb, ooh, they're probably going to be behind.
Sorry about that,
Oh
mom.
no, man.
Well, but I mean, I guess, I'm laughing about it, but it's real, right? They're just looking out for their children with the information that they've got. And so
Hmm.
then the way we are a real teacher or a professional is to help them reevaluate that information.
Yes, the
Um,
reevaluation, the
I
reassessment.
I can't remember who I quoted, but I know this is in the schema book, that sometimes just the appearance of correctness is as
Mm.
far as they get, as families get. Like, they look in, it looks schoolish, so there must be learning happening, and they feel okay about it. When we could open things up for families, and in doing that, sort of demand respect for our professionalism
Hmm.
and our realness, instead of just saying, well, they expect something, and even if I don't think it's right, I've got to do it because they
I gotta
expect it.
do that.
That's
I
certainly not
think,
being a professional teacher or a
and
real teacher.
I think what you just touched on, this idea of re-educating people, reorienting people to the reality of what works best for young
Mm-hmm.
children. I think for many people, I know for me, something that helped me feel like that quote unquote idea of a real
Mm-hmm.
teacher was getting involved in the profession at this meta level,
Uh,
right? And demanding the respect for this profession, not in the way I not just stopping at I deserve to be paid more,
mm-hmm.
because like yes, that is true for all of us.
Right,
But
absolutely.
also there are systems in place that are harming children.
Yeah.
There are practices in place that are harming children, not even just not benefiting them, harming them.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are kindergarten classrooms that are completely developmentally inappropriate. There are
Mm-hmm.
toddler classrooms that are completely developmentally
Mm-hmm.
inappropriate. So what am I doing to quote unquote spread the gospel
Mm-hmm.
of play and the unhurried child and writing notes all the time? Um, what am I doing to make myself a credible source
Mm-hmm.
when I talk to parents, when I talk to colleagues, when my director calls me in
Mm-hmm.
and says, "Hey, why are you doing that?" And it's like, "Oh, here's the 4 papers that my work is referencing at this exact moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's everywhere I'm coming from. Here's what our mission statement
Right.
says, and here's how my work is
Yeah.
doing that."
And I mean, that comes back to the love affair we're in with evidence-based whatever's. We all,
Yeah,
everything has to be evidence-based, and I'm not saying we don't want to be well thought out and well,
totally.
read, and to be learning, but uh there is an argument to be made too, that the child we're looking at is the evidence of what might be happening, and what they need, and
Yeah.
what their interest is, and what's meaningful
Yeah.
to them, and what they're ready for, and what they're not ready for. And so sometimes it's creatively turning language back on people.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's great. And I think too it's remembering that evidence is not just what comes from the Ivy League institutions,
Mhm.
right? Sometimes as you said the evidence is in the child. There are many different ways of knowing,
Yeah.
right? There's
Yes.
many different things we can reference. I think again New Zealand is a very beautiful example of this in terms of how they have created a bicultural curriculum. They are not only referencing knowledge from, esteemed peer reviewed scientists, but also indigenous knowledge, knowledge
Hmm.
that comes from the people that have lived there for hundreds and hundreds of
Yeah.
years, and how that informs everything that they do. And I think with much indigenous knowledge in almost every part of the world,
Hmm.
you find that links in beautifully
There's
to what you're
alignment.
talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of alignment with
Hmm.
the studied, published essay about
Right.
XYZ topic, about relationships,
Yeah.
about assessment. And finding that again, like thinking about this idea of a real teacher, like that was also, I think, a really pivotal moment for me in terms of am I a real teacher? Is not you talked earlier about like I have all of this knowledge and where am I supposed to put it?
Yep.
For me, it's like it's not the knowledge of necessarily like here's how we're going to teach the letter order. Here's how we're going to teach how to write the letters, but the knowledge of here's how children grow and learn with each other.
Right.
Here are some ways that children can grow in knowledge and skills and attributes and habits of mind.
And
here's what that might look like.
That might be a priority, developmentally speaking, at this age, but also
exactly
great variation.
Great variation.
I don't think that we should ever trust any curriculum that says this is great for your entire group of 3-year-olds, regardless of the variation of threeness.
God, especially a group of 3-year-olds.
Or evidence that has been provided to you by a curriculum selling.
Yeah, because remember, it's in their own best interest
that we
for you to buy stuff.
Buying it, yeah.
So they can be as evidence-based as they want, but also a fun little activity for you is to look up who provided their evidence. Did they pay for it?
Right. Where's that funding coming from? Which is one of the reasons it's so hard to find good, current, new kind of research about free play or child-led.
Right.
Who wants to fund that? Nobody's going to fund it because they don't see the value either.
Right. And in a lot of ways, it's like, great, we'll spend, $100,000 on this research that will simply confirm what we wrote 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. It hasn't changed.
I did have this conversation with a student a couple of years ago, and it wasn't on the topic of play specifically. It might have been about, it might have been literacy related. I don't remember. But her question was, I'd given them something to read that was 15 years old or 20 years old. And, she was sort of presenting, not just sort of, she was directly challenging that this article was so old that it might be not relevant research. Honestly, or evidence
good for
anymore.
Her.
Yes, for sure. But
we love a pushback. We love a skeptic.
Yeah. But then we talked about stuff like, well, research has to be like this kind of research has to be funded by somebody. And funders aren't going to see the bang for the buck on a play project like they are a literacy
They can't sell
project.
You a play curriculum.
Right, yes. But also maybe that's because no one has challenged it because it continues to prove to be true.
It just keeps working. Very few papers about gravity have been written in the past 10 years.
That's so good, yes.
We're done with that.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah. But there is nobody out here. Well, that's not true. There are people out here saying that the Earth is flat, and then you watch their YouTube videos where they prove themselves wrong.
I know, they're so shocked and mad.
They're so shocked and sad. Oh, your whole worldview just shattered. Right. But we're not really seeing a lot of papers about. So is the Earth orbiting the sun?
Right? Is it outdated information now? Because
now that's still kind of legit. Yeah. We don't really have to question that anymore.
I have to apologize. I am laughing so hard right into the microphone. I'm really sorry, folks who are listening with your earbuds.
I think they love it. No. That's why they come to this podcast.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's what I hear.
Because it's smart and it's fun.
And it's funny. Okay, what else do we want to say about this? I just want to throw this in because we've talked about developmentally appropriate, and I've used my two new favorite descriptors, developmentally informed and developmentally responsive. But those
are really good.
I was talking to Denisha Jones earlier this week, or late last week. I don't know what day it is. It's Monday, so it was last week. She is cool. And she used the phrase developmentally overwhelming. And that,
oh my God,
almost took my breath away.
I was going to say that knocked me out right there.
Being the word nerd that I am. But that's the other thing that we, need to think about, because I'm so just tired of the phrase developmentally appropriate because it doesn't really mean anything anymore.
Well,
people just use it when they want to win an argument.
I also think appropriate we're sort of sliding away.
For what purpose?
From what that exact. When we say developmentally appropriate, we're like, well, it works for some people.
Yeah.
it's not like bad when really what we should be talking about is this developmentally purposeful? Is this, I really
Yeah.
like developmentally
I
overwhelming?
know, me too. Yeah.
Like,
I did in my I don't know if it was my bachelor's or my master's, but at some point which I did after I'd been in the field for, 20 some years. And the assignment was to read like just activity instructions
mm-hmm.
and discuss whether or not they would be developmentally appropriate for a group of 3-year-olds. And my answer was, I can't answer that because I don't know the individual 3-year-olds
I don't know the 3-year-olds
who are with
yeah,
you, and I don't know their social context. I don't know their family context or their,
right. The answer
I
is
don't know enough
literally
to,
always maybe.
right. And she was like, I think you know what this assignment is asking you to do, and you can
Oh,
answer it. And I was like, all right,
stick my
then.
tongue out.
I know, it was just nuts, and it
You.
obviously has stayed with me, but I just thought she was so disgusted by an answer that was informed by NACY's own
Right.
document about what the 3 core
Right. Well,
considerations are.
I mean, I think you took the power away from her in that situation where she's like, "Great, I know what I'm doing.
Right.
I will be assessing the
Yeah.
learning this way."
Yes.
It's
I
the idea of
often
an
wonder,
assessment of learning versus an assessment for learning.
right. I often wonder if I would like or not like to have a student like I was.
Oh man, that'd be so fun.
Because I also, in the literacy class, we had to write about a fabulous children's story. And I emailed the instructor and I said, do you mean fabulous, like just kind of cool and fun, or fabulous as in like fable? And she was like,
Oh, that's so
I think
good.
you're overthinking.
You know, it could be both if that's fun for you.
Right.
Wait, name a fabulous fable.
A fabulous
What fable would you say is fabulous?
um, let me think. I really love The Lion and the Mouse. That's a pretty fabulous
That
fable.
one is really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
It is a
The
fabulous
big lion
fable.
gets stuck in that net and a little mouse comes along.
That's
Works
very
hard to
good.
give him
I
out.
agree with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I love an Anansi story.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
That guy's always getting up to stuff, and I find it funny. He's
yes.
always messing things up.
Always
Ooh,
getting into stuff.
just a plug for Circle Round on WBUR. Fabulous fables for children.
Okay.
Incredible podcast.
Oh.
Incredible podcast where
Is it
they
really a
retell
podcast
stories.
called Fabulous Fables?
No, it's called Circle Round.
Oh, okay. I was
But
like,
it would be better if it was
they owe
Fabulous
me some
Fables.
money. That's my intellectual property.
But they're great. If you're looking for more fabulous fables for children, highly recommend. And kids also, like, a lot of children really like podcasts. You can have them listen to a story. Yeah. I feel like listening centers have gone on the out, and I'm like, nah, man.
I forgot about listening
I love them.
centers. Yeah.
I would love to just sit and have headphones on.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. All right. Where else do we need to go with this?
Man, when the
path.
I don't. I'm like, well, so when did you feel like a real teacher? Did you ever? Did you ever doubt if you were a real teacher?
Well, not really, but I should have early on. I actually literally 100% just did a TikTok about this earlier today. Because I do remember in my early years, it was the early 90s. So I've been doing this since I was 19. And I just turned 55 today. So that's a long time to be doing this. But I remember I was working with 2-year-olds, and this group would have been maybe a couple of years in. And I remember parents loving me so much and complimenting me, thinking they were offering a compliment by saying, have you ever considered being a real teacher? Because you're so good with these. Would you ever consider being a real teacher? And being super offended by that. But in the moment, I was probably doing some things like we're talking about now, where it was very playing school.
Who among us hasn't?
Yes, exactly. That's exactly. So I've always thought I was a real teacher deserving respect, but there were times when I was doing things that were more teachery and less about how children learn and what they need, and how to figure that out day to day, moment by moment.
Yeah. And all of the fun and horror that comes with that.
Yeah.
Like, I do want to stress, it is terrifying.
Yes. Yeah.
Much of the time.
I just loved coloring and laminating and cutting things out for my wall, and that felt very teachery. I
Yeah.
loved developing a pre-written lesson plan.
Oh man.
That felt very teachery. What I made the TikTok video about today was I found a photo from that time, um, of this 2-year-old girl. She's jumping over a cardboard toilet paper tube that's on the floor, standing up on the floor. And all the rest of the 2-year-olds are sitting, waiting for their turn to jump over the cardboard tube.
Hmm.
And it was a nursery rhyme theme. So it was Jack
I
Be
was gonna
Nimble,
say,
Jack
is
Be
this
Quick.
Jack Be Nimble?
Yes. And it was on the lesson plan as my gross motor activity, because I'm a teacher who
Yeah.
plans and organizes and leads. But they were sitting for most of the gross motor activity, waiting for their turn to jump over the tube, then go sit down.
The gross non-motor, sitting and waiting.
It was not motor. It was a great sitting on your butt exercise. But
that's such a great anecdote, though. that's so great. Of like, I can't wait to share that with people. Of like, so was that a gross motor activity?
Right. It was on the plan. It was approved by admin as a gross motor
they said that
activity.
Was great.
Yeah, it was posted, so it must be learning. Those kids are like 33 now. It's so weird to think about.
I was gonna say they're not my age, so we haven't been irreparably harmed.
I mean, I'm sure that it was fun, and I'm sure that I was kind while they were waiting and sitting. Like I've never been an unkind adult trying to get a group of children to do what I want. Probably, I've had my days for sure.
Of course we have.
I definitely held 2-year-old Ava on my lap because she wouldn't sit still during circle time. And she peed on me. So that's
a rite of passage.
Helped me learn that lesson, really.
Yeah. Like, well, guess why I couldn't sit still? Because I had to pee.
Exactly. Here's some data for you, Miss.
And there is the children as evidence.
Yes.
That's also fantastic.
Man. It's just funny to think about, all that time. And I guess I want to be clear that I know there's a learning curve, and I know that we're all developing, and none of us are born knowing everything we need to know or should do, but it's worth reflecting about this kind of stuff. And if you're wondering to yourself, if I just let them play, how am I a teacher? And your impulse is, well, then I'm going to just not let them play, instead of I'm going to sit with this and think about this and learn about this and figure it out, then you don't really probably believe in play. If that's
right.
If you're using it as a reason not to do it instead of a real question to explore, then that tells you something.
That tells you a lot.
Yeah.
And if you're finding, you ask yourself this question, if I just let them play, how am I a real teacher? And you're finding, and you're on that stage of your journey where you're like, well, if I don't let them play, then I'm definitely not a real teacher. That's not what I want to be doing. May I recommend to you the backlog of That Early Childhood Nerd episodes to help you on your learning journey, or send us an email. I love an email.
Right. We'll be happy to talk about
so many resources out there, I promise.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, I honestly think, like, for a lot of people, the real teacher starts when you ask that question of yourself.
Yeah.
And you find that you don't like what the other option is.
Yeah.
And so you change.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, now you're doing the reflection and the learning and the research that is required of a teacher. Yeah. Like, welcome. We want you here.
We're so glad you found us.
Yay!
I'm so glad I got here.
Yeah, I'm so glad we made it here, because some people don't.
That's right. Yeah. Well, this is great. I'm never going to go to sleep now, Sam. It's 9:00 at my house, and I'm going to be
that is nice
fired up.
It's 10 in the morning here, so I'm going to go on a walk.
Perfect.
I'm going to go down to the Ginza, which is what basically you just call a street with shops on it.
Okay, fine.
All right. Go get some carrots.
Beautiful. Ooh, I love carrots. Well, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to have a glass of wine and read.
Yeah. And you're going to go bed. Yeah.
My trashy romance historical.
What are you reading?
So Tiffany Pearsall, friend of show,
love her.
Beloved
friend of show, beloved friend of show, even.
Yes. She got me into Sarah J. Maas.
Of course.
So that's one thing. But she also just recently got me into this author named Julie Ann Long. And they're
I feel like
just,
I've seen this.
yeah, so they're $5-6 trade paperback, kind
Incredible.
of quote unquote trashy
Get
novel.
that bag, girl.
But they're so well written. I'm highlighting these $5.
Like,
And
wow,
Tiffany and
this
I
is
are like
great.
highlighting and texting each other what we're highlighting because the dialogue is really good. And the series, she's got a lot, but the series I'm reading is the Palace of Rogues series. And it's a
Ooh,
perfect combination of really sharp writing and just silly trash.
great. That's that. The two genders, as I understand them. Silly trash writing, silly
Yes.
trash, and great writing.
Yeah, it's really well done. Like there's moments.
Pick which one you are.
There's moments, and yell at me if you want to, but I used to be an English lit major, and I have read Jane Austen a bajillion times and studied it critically. There's moments in these where I'm like, if Jane Austen was alive in 2025, this might be what she wrote. Like,
That's beautiful. That what an endorsement.
right?
I hope the author listens to this podcast and then puts that
Uh,
on the top of the next book.
yeah, I'm between books 4 and 5 right now, and 5's not going to get to me till next week. So I'm just sort of
well.
coasting.
I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, and thank you,
that.
listeners, for putting up with that little aside. Kim, you mentioned the backlog of episodes, and I do
sure
need
did.
to add a little bit here to the end because this episode, even though we're recording in September, will be out in November.
Right.
So I need listeners to know that Jeff Johnson, who has been producing the podcast since its inception 9 years ago, is retiring at the end of this year. So all of the episodes will move to a new podcast publishing site house. So at the end of 2025, if you're following on iTunes or Spotify, that's going to disappear, but we're still there. You just have to find the other.
You just got to redo it.
Right. And so, in fact, I'm working on that process now. And there are like 76 of the original episodes that aren't available anywhere right now, but they're available now. Like I've uploaded 40 of them and I'm working on them. So if you went to iTunes today and searched That Early Childhood Nerd, there would actually be 2 separate shows. One is the current show with everything, and one is the new place where I'm entering all these. So you can find those original episodes. The audio quality is not great, but the conversations are pretty good.
The conversations are great. Listen, 9 years is a long time to be doing a podcast.
Yeah, so
microphones keep getting better and better.
I just need to be letting people know here as we approach the end of 2025 that you're going to have to resubscribe to the new version of, but it's still
you can do it. We believe in
Nerd.
You.
The logo's the same. If you go there now on either iTunes or Spotify, you can differentiate. One is the current feed is early childhood. No, what is Jeff's thing?
Explorations,
early learning.
Explorations, early learning. There's so many.
And if you see the ones that I'm entering now, it says early childhood nerd work, because we're also considering a whole new network of nerd
work. We got time on that.
Anyway, do what you want to with that, folks, but don't lose us at the end of the year.
Please don't leave us. Switching. We are desperate for your validation.
We really, really need you. All right, I'm going to wrap it up for real now. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
And thanks, everybody, for listening to another episode of That Early Childhood Nerd.